Hello, and yes, welcome back to another episode. And if you're joining us for the first time, I'm Shawanna Kennedy. I'm excited to be here and have you here with me on You First. It's all things about you, and you, where the center of our conversation is self-care, mental well-being, and empowerment. And it's empowering you to make yourself a priority and put you back on top of the to-do list of your life. In this space, in this safe space that is all about you, for you, you may want to grab someone because today we have a doctor in the house. That's right. This young lady has nearly 30 years of doing what she gets to do that I believe she loves to do. She is a doctor of physical therapy. She's an intelligence wellness specialist, and she's a consultant. Oh, and of course, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that she's an author and she is a well-known speaker. I can't wait for you to hear her because we got some juicy questions to ask her as it relates to us and the culture and what that really means. Won't you help me welcome none other than our gracious guest today, Dr. Ayanna Miller. Hey, Dr. Miller. Hello.
Hey. So welcome. Good to be with you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome to the show. I'm excited because looking even over your bio, it's a lot. It's a lot. And to know that you have done things as it relates to stroke rehabilitation, right? That's huge. And then to even go into, when we think about the gender intelligence, that's a whole nother something. So I don't want to delay. I know I have some questions over here because I was like, oh my God, it's so many things. What I want to know is what even made you want to get into that? What made you want to go into that?
Well, when I was an undergrad student at the illustrious and comparable Florida A&M University, the university that sits on the highest of 7 hills in the state of Florida's capital, I decided that my community is so plagued, the African-American community is so plagued with neurological dysfunction as a result of stroke. I always said that I wanted to graduate and come back home to my community and be able to affect these outcomes. Stroke rehab is a lot like molding clay. And for one, there are so many factors on the front end of stroke that are preventable. And then on the back end, if a person doesn't incur stroke, it is absolutely morbidly life-changing. A person lives with a lifetime of disability. And of course, there's a spectrum of how mild or severe that disability might be. But this is such a very important pathology in our community because it's so prevalent and it's so life-altering. And because I found during my undergraduate studies that it was I don't want to sound morbid.
Give it to us because here's what I'll say. This is where I need you to be all of who you are, not that you wouldn't be. But sometimes we do have to have the uncomfortable, real conversation because sometimes to try to be delicate and walk around a thing, people don't quite get it. So sometimes you do have to really hit them in the throat, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, I'll just say this. What I was going to say is, and I was trying to find the right phraseology to encapsulate my thought. And my first thought was that I found that it was a pleasure to work with victims of stroke. And let me just first clarify for the audience. A stroke is literally an incident on the brain where you have a cerebrovascular accident. That means there's either a shunting or a cutting off of blood and oxygen supply, or you have a bleed, like if you think about a fire hydrant that somehow is knocked over or it's opened and it's flooding water into the street. That's how the blood vessels operate. Your blood vessels contain your blood, but if somehow they rupture and they begin to release blood and spill onto the brain, it's going to create massive damage. that you'll have residual effects that will either affect your motor system, your sensory system, some sense system of the body, because the brain is literally your central processing unit. It's the computer of your body. So
Yes.
I found that working with stroke victims, people who were living with this pathology and its sequelae or its residual effects, was literally a pleasure, because when you catch them early on, Shawanna, I found that they were having excellent outcomes if you gave them good intervention.
Mm-hmm.
That became the pleasure part. There was one woman that I'll never forget. She was a young lady who had come to Florida from the Bahamas. She had had a stroke during childbirth, and she couldn't walk. And so as I was working with her, we kind of pulled out some stops and did some unconventional creative things. And that's what you have to do a lot of times. In other words, I kind of started molding her clay. And before long, she was able to walk. She did have some deficits, but nonetheless, she was no longer wheelchair bound. And so these are the victories that made and still make working with somebody who has neurological pathology a pleasure, because when you see them with this lifelong sentence where most times it results in paralysis. And as I recently said, that's one you don't want. That's something you don't want. That is major, to lose the function of your body parts and to have to relearn the skill of functioning again, to have to relearn how to, as I use an example, walking, or even to get up and down from a chair, have to relearn that skill. We don't think about it, but it becomes a major life altering scenario when you lose these basic functions. So that's what made me want to go into stroke rehab. Gender intelligence is sort of a different discipline, but it does overlap.
But I got to ask you before, because I have a few questions around that gender intelligence, because that's a whole, I thought
you had asked. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It could be a whole episode all by itself. And correct. Because you were talking right there about even the stroke, it brought to my mind, knowing on my biological father's side, they have a pattern. I know me and you through conversations offline have talked about generational things versus just patterns and habits. And so when I think about a stroke, since we started with the stroke portion, it's me thinking about the things that I possibly even do, and especially at this stage and the age that I'm at, and to know that they diagnosed me, it's been a number of years now, and the name is so long, it's so many alphabets in there as it relates to even a blood vessel in my head, that I have to be mindful. And people, my family, my immediate family, of course, they always try to stay on me if I'm really too pumped up, because when you were talking about the blood flow and the shortness and the things that it can cause, of course, it brings us back to us first. So that's why when you were talking, I'm hearing the stories and what led you to this, but then it also make me think about me and what that means for me, and the things that because I love the fact that you are about prevention. And so right there, I'm going to ask the question too. So for a person, what is quickly three things that we can do to prevent or to better hold off or delay, certain things like that from happening that could cause that rush of the blood? Because I know we get motivated, and I know there's different natural things that are released in us that causes the blood to flow faster. But when we think about where we're on the cusp or could be right on the edge of something like that happening, what is three quick things that people could be mindful of to pay attention to?
Well, firstly, you want to understand the root cause of many of these precursors to stroke. And in many cases, the root cause is microinflammation throughout the body. Everybody's body interprets inflammation differently. And so because the blood vessels are layered with muscle and other connective tissue, you want to make certain that you are consuming things that are pH balanced and non-inflammatory, because inflammatory intake can, if you're a person who is predisposed to vascular weakness or vascular accidents, then you could possibly consume things that will ultimately result in, how do I describe it? Okay, it's like you could have micro tears, for lack of a better way to put it, micro tears inside of the blood vessels that can weaken them. And so if your blood pressure is increased and you have pre-existing micro tears and weak points in your blood vessels, particularly those of the brain, you could possibly wind up with a stroke. You could end up with extra pressure in those weak areas that will cause the blood vessel to rupture, and that equates to having a stroke. So making certain that you're consuming things that are pH balanced, of course, keeping a active lifestyle, and also getting regular checkups so that you know what your values are and know where you stand.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good, and it's so true. What was a pivotal moment for you when you realized the power of the holistic practices that you do now? What was a pivotal moment? Like, what happened? You like, this is it. This is it.
Well, for about, I'd say 25 years, I practiced in a traditional model where curative was the plan of action. People would come to me who were broken and they were desperate to, recapture their previous level of function. And so ultimately, the more I came to know about how do we even get here to begin with, these life-altering pathologies that are so prevalent, that are wreaking havoc on adults, particularly of all ages. I deal with the adult population. The more I increased my awareness of what leads you to this point, the more I began to say, there's a whole world of opportunity for us to not even get here in the first place, because you're literally behind the 8 ball when you're trying to reverse neurological dysfunction. So 2 years ago, I decided to pivot and let's talk and to start talking about neuro wellness. How can we delve into wellness, prevent some of these chronic illnesses that a lot of times lead to neurological dysfunction, paralysis, stroke? Let's talk about how do we prevent, first of all, diabetes, which leads to stroke. How do we prevent, high blood pressure, which leads to stroke? How do we prevent some of these top hitting, heavy hitter, but easily preventable pathologies that in a lot of cases lead to stroke? And even loss of limbs, not necessarily from paralysis, but from amputations. All of this is preventable. So when I began to kind of, I don't want to say get tired. I don't think I've ever gotten tired of helping people who are desperate to regain their function. But as I became more aware of the opportunities that we have to prevent being behind the 8 ball, it's when I say it's time to make a shift. We have to shift, because we're not getting anywhere in terms of stopping this. We're topping the charts with all of these horrific pathologies and diseases, and we don't have to. All we have to do is understand how to truly be well, how to truly prevent, and that's a whole discipline in itself. And it's much easier to do that than to try and fix what's in a lot of cases irreparable. Brain damage is very difficult to repair. It's a lifetime worth of work. So you don't want that. You know,
Yeah, no, you don't. And
you can
because here,
prevent
I've
that.
always even said too, I say it and I say it now, is of course, yes, I'm putting it in the atmosphere. If it's God's will, I want to live to be a thriving, hit 3 digits, right? As it relates to my age here on this side of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to have my mind. I need this. I need my mind. And yes, I would love to be in great physical shape as my body, season more. And
Correct.
so to have my mind, to know that my mind, I need my mind, even if someone has to assist me in doing other things. And
Sure.
so that's why that's primary for me. Because if I'm no longer here, it what else is there for me? Seriously. And even when I think about my family and the people that we get, I say we get to because God could use anybody to pour into other people, because a lot of the things that he's blessed us with is not even for us. It's so that
Right.
we can impact and empower and uplift other people, in which you get to do all the time. Because, and again, looking at the some of the body of work that you've been able to do, knowing that you're an advocate for your community, that
Mhm.
speaks volumes. And those are the things that you're saying, why are we here? What is this life that I'm living? So to know that you do this to help other people who need to, I say by choice or by force, we're going to have to put self first,
Oh,
right?
yes.
By
Oh,
choice or by force, we're going to have to look at something that is important. I remind people that they are a gift. They're a gift, and we have to, outside of your creator, because I make sure people understand it's outside of our creator. It is us. It's us. And then we have a responsibility to the person that we are for this one life that we get to live. I want to know too, when you think about the mind and the body connection, talk to
mhm.
us a little bit about that mind and body connection.
Well, first of all, your brain is your central processing unit. It is it's the driver for all of your functions. There's no disconnect between the mind and the body. Uh, Let me use a very basic example. If you're depressed, are you likely to care about what you consume? What
Right.
you consume, in large part, your body functions hinge upon what you consume. I talked a little bit about inflammatory processes that lead to diseases that ultimately result in disability. So if you don't have the presence of mind to consume those rightful consumables that will nourish your central processing unit, your brain, and other parts of your body, then that's going to set you up for physical failure. That's going to set your body up for failure. If you're, again, depressed or not in a good presence of mind, are you likely to lead an active lifestyle?
Yeah.
No, no. There's no disconnect between the mind and the body. The central processing unit which is what I call the brain. It drives the physical portion. It drives the body. It's going to determine what your mood is like. Your mood is going to determine what your activity level is like. And activity is a major precursor to whether or not you wind up with a life sentence of pathology. Your,
Mm.
your activity, your intake, whether or not you understand, how these things interplay, whether or not you have the presence of mind to keep up with screenings and your values. When I say values, I mean like your blood chemistry. Do you know what your blood pressure is? Do you know what your heart rate is, your resting heart rate? Do you know what your cholesterol is? And so this is what I mean when I say your values, your levels. Are you checking your engine? Is what I'm really referring to.
Mhm.
There's a million analogies that I can make. Your body is very much like a car in many ways, and you have to check the systems and determine which lights are flashing, which lights are coming
What's
on.
under the hood? What's under the hood?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and is what's under the hood functioning optimally.
Yes.
So if you are not in a good headspace to keep up with these things, then everything regarding your body is going to hinge upon that. Everything concerning the physical body is going to result from what's happening with you mentally, emotionally. So there's no separation
Yeah.
between the mind and the body. Your wellness means your physical wellness, your mental wellness, your spiritual wellness. They all interplay together. Absolutely. There's no disconnection at all.
Yeah, I love it because, there's a lot of different practices to say that, of course, we can do certain levels of, when you think about meditation, right? And centering ourselves, which is very, very important. And
Oh, yeah.
because with what you work on, we talking about preventive. Let's even talk about that for a moment, where because of knowing the importance of even meditation to help center ourselves, to help ground ourselves, to actually help other things work well in that. How do you incorporate for this more holistic side versus medication to talk to someone about the things that they can do holistically, certain practices and things that habits, right? To retrain the brain to say these are things that can even help under the hood, that engine to work better, because we know it's the mind, it's the body and the spirit. But a lot of things, what we think about, we will eventually become bad and or good. So talk to us about that part of it when we think holistically and practices that, because I learned a long time ago, especially even doing, speaking and facilitating, when we thought about stress. I know for me, everybody, when I would hear the word stress, or we was programmed, when we would hear the word stress, it was automatically seen as something negative. What I also learned later is there's a such thing as called eustress. And that's the good stress. It's the stress that makes us get off our do something and do something, because we need those things so that we can be our best self. Talk to us a moment about that.
Well, when you talk about meditation and mindfulness, these things are so very useful for realigning our nervous system, the parasympathetic, the sympathetic nervous system, bringing a sense of calm so that your hormones, which again it has a huge interplay on the brain. All of these things are brought back into balance, and it's all about balance. Incorporating breath work into meditation. Again, breath work helps to align systems within the body. It helps to align the lungs. It helps to align the diaphragm. It helps to align the pelvic floor. And all of that has a bearing on what happens with the rest of the body. So certainly, meditation is yet another opportunity for you to regain balance in the emotional world and also in your physical world. It brings calm, and that calm allows your levels, as we talked about before, to become balanced again. It allows the hormones. We hear this word a lot, but hormones are literally neurochemicals that feed and seed body systems. If you think of it kind of like the oil or the coolant that you put into your car, that's kind of how hormones affect the body systems. Your oil affects your engine, your coolant affects your engine and your radiator. All these things interplay together because you have the right chemicals flowing. And so it is with your hormones and other neurochemicals as well. You have transmitters and all that flow through your body. And so it's very important to give your body a chance to recenter. And meditation, mindfulness, breathing, breath work. A lot of times we take these things for granted and say, oh, that's just a buzzword. But these words are a lifeline to good health and to maintaining homeostasis. Water always finds its level. And so it is with your body. Your body is always seeking balance. And meditation incorporated with breath work is just another way to bring your body into balance. It's another way to bring your body into calm. Calm helps to level and balance your parasympathetics and your sympathetics. It helps to balance and level your lymphatics and your hormonal flow so that you have good communication between the brain and other systems of the body. It's critical. It's another critical function that has to be incorporated into the lifestyle.
I love it because what you just said. So for anybody to just think meditation is simply meditation, it is not. You have heard it from the doctor herself. This is really good. I know that there is a couple more questions that I know that I have for you. I'm excited because while we deal with this portion, because this young lady is so rich, her knowledge, and while we have her in the seat, I already know that we're going to have to do a part 2. But as we prepare to get out of here for this part 1 of the You First episode, I want to know, what is one thing that you would like to share with this audience that can help us be better as a people, better as an individual? I just want to know your thoughts, as we wrap up this episode of You First.
Well, I'm going to speak to physical wellness. Okay, that is the core of everything that I do. That's the core of what everything I do hinges upon. And I'm going to say, if there's one takeaway, I want the family to understand that detoxification and cleansing is going to be the key recipe to your good health. As you live longer, you want to have a quality of life that makes life desirable, that makes life worth living. So detoxification, you hear it all over, but I need the family to start taking this seriously. Your liver, your kidneys, your colon will not function optimally without detoxification. If those body parts are not routinely cleansed, all of your body parts need to be cleaned. Just like you clean the outside with soap and water, you need to clean the inside as well. Not with soap and water, but with consumables that are pH balanced. So in order for you to have proper brain functioning, in order for you to have proper musculoskeletal functioning, in order for you to have proper endocrine functioning, in order for you to have proper gastrointestinal and reproductive functioning, you must, family, remember detoxification. Even if you don't understand the value fully, understand the need. You must do this in order for all of your body systems to interplay properly and to give you a quality of life that makes your longer life worth living.
I love it. I love it. Don't y'all love Dr. Ayanna? Y'all need to be showing her some love in the comments. Make sure you're following her. I know if you can't find her anywhere else, you actually can find her on LinkedIn. So for all of our LinkedIn family, look her up today. Make sure you are following her. You will have all of her contact information right there in the description below. You already know we're going to have a part 2. I'm so grateful that you are here with me, Dr. Ayanna Miller, because we need you. We need more people like you to help have the hard conversations with someone like me, being an African-American female, to talk to another African-American female about things that are going on with my body, and that if no one else understand that, you do. So I want to make sure that you guys are following us, sharing, liking, connecting, hitting that notification bell right now, because we're going to have to do a part 2. Thank you for joining me for this episode of You First. I'm Shawanna Kennedy, your host, joined by the lovely Dr. Ayanna Miller. So get ready for our part 2. This episode is brought to you by Kennedy Media and Entertainment, your premier video productions and digital visibility partner. Working with business owners just like you to be seen, heard, and paid by elevating your brand with high-impact video content, online visibility strategies, and expert social media management. Ready to stand out in your industry, on and off camera? Contact Kennedy Media today, and let's turn your message into a movement. Because visibility isn't optional, it's essential. Contact KennedyMediaLLC.com, KennedyMediaLLC.com, and let's boost your brand's visibility. It's time for you to be seen, heard, and known for your expertise. Contact us today.